Hello tech friends, today I have the Packard Bell DB1280IR. This is a personal organiser from around about the year 2000, I'm going to say. It's been tricky to find information about this thing. I can't find manuals online. I can see someone else is selling an eBay listing with all of the package and the manual as well, which might be able to tell me a bit more about it. But yeah, details are pretty scarce, but I think it's around the year 2000 because of this logo for Packard Bell. And if you remember their computers around that sort of time that just looked like weird objects with loads of bloatware, I guess you'd call it, installed, that was the logo they were using. Right, if we just have a little look around this then. This is an IR, infrared receiver. Well, this one is actually probably the send one, I think, because on the other side we've got another one as well. And then we've got a computer port, so a serial connection of some kind. And that's what the IR stands for, is the infrared bit. And then on the back, you'll notice I don't have the battery cover on here. I do have it, but I found it works a little bit better without it on. There's a coin cell battery underneath here. We've got a reset button. We've got a few little stickers on the back. It says here, important, pull out the strip of battery insulation tape before use. You know, you'd have the little tag to pull it out to make the connection of the battery when you got it home. That's obviously to save the battery being used while it's just being displayed. Then we've got, is your screen faint or blank? Let me tell you, that has happened to me many times while I've been trying to get this working. Your organiser's main or backup battery may need replacing. Please refer to your instruction booklet. Well, hey, I would if I had one, right? If you require any technical advice, please call this telephone number. I've tried it. It's dead. One day, I'm going to phone one of these numbers on the back and it's actually going to connect to someone and they're going to be surprised. Well, maybe if I can, I'll record that phone call. Right, let's open this up and hopefully it's going to work for us. And there we go. It turned on. I'd like to say first time, but this is probably the 20th time I've tried it. Hey, that's the magic of editing, right? And hopefully you can see that nice and clearly. Got a lovely big display. That's definitely the main feature of this device, isn't it? You know, you've got a kind of dot matrix display, which, you know, loads of lines on that. And then all the way around the outside edge, you've got these little more kind of stock logos and things like that, which are indicating, in this instance, that's the sound one, which I should be able to turn off if I press shift and the right cursor key here. And then that stops the beeping and the little icon disappears. But let's just have a little look at the buttons and things. On the bottom half, we've got the number pad with all the calculator functions here on the left hand side in the top corner. Then we've got a full QWERTY keyboard. And we've got some big space and enter. We've got enter and we've got carriage return, which will show the different uses of those buttons when we get into it. If you press shift, then you'll activate any of the red items here. And there's one shift and space, for instance. So let's press that and it will bring up the function menu here, which is kind of like the setup screen. And then we've got all the different options here. But you'll see right here on the top, we've got shortcuts to get to all the features. We've got cursors, and then we've got this search function here, which is, it acts as a page up and page down, really, if you're scrolling through entries, but you can also use it to search for things in specific categories. So let's have a little look under the function menu. Number one, here's our memory used. Nothing so far because it's just been reset. Take us back to the function menu. And then number two, setup. Right. Let's turn this into a proper UK device rather than its default. So date format, MMDDYYYY. Why wouldn't we change it to DDMMYYYY? Then we're going to change the calendar format, Monday to Sunday, because we're in full heathen mode. And then we've got 12 or 24-hour format. Hey, most people in the UK can read and enjoy the 24-hour clock. We've got hourly beep. It's important to leave that off because if I forget to take the battery out and I leave it in a box somewhere, then I'll faintly hear some beeping in the background every now and again, which becomes a regret over time. Then we've got an auto off timer after 3 minutes. So if I just press enter, And hopefully that's stored, because I've tried that before and it hasn't stored the information, but because I pressed enter, yeah, it looks like it has. I think if you just back out of the menu with shift and then the function key, it's not gonna save it. And then we've got some other things here. Del mark, what's that? Delete marked record. So we've got lots of different categories for areas where we can store data. So I think you can probably wipe entire sections. If I pressed 1, delete all marked, so you can mark things in there to sort of mark them as ones that you want to delete, I guess. And then we've got password, so this obviously has some sort of password feature. dir name, so you can actually rename some of these sections. So we've got section telephone, so it's got 3 different categories for telephone, phone numbers and contact details and stuff like that. So it's likely that you could say have a business one, a family one, personal one, and something else, maybe some sort of secret spy network that you're running. Hey, let's call this one Spy Team. Oh, I pressed escape. That was a mistake. Let's try that again. 5. Let's type in. We'll do a capital, shall we? Spy Team, and then I'll just space past all that, and then I'll hit enter. And then that's what we'll see when we go to the menu where that corresponds, I would say. We've got item name, and that's some more of the functions for customizing other parts of the what have we got? Shopping list and the expenses and stuff like that. And we've got W search. Who knows what that is? Actually, let's have a little look. Wildcard search. I guess you can do searches, but only part of the names of things like that. And then we've got languages, data transfer. Okay, you get the idea. That's your main sort of function menu. But when you turn this on normally, sure, we saw the clock, didn't we? That was the main thing that we saw, which looks just great. In fact, actually, should we set the time before we do anything else? That's a good idea. So on this screen, if I press edit, so see we've got this little edit button down here. Now I can set the home and date/time. So let's do that. Okay. And we'll put in, well, let's try today's date. I'm not sure if it can cope with things that are that far in the future. Oh, actually, given that it says 1998, that's probably when it was first, the firmware was first committed to the device. So it's likely this was actually kicking around in 1998. So maybe you had one of these in 1998. Oh, you'd have been pleased with yourself, wouldn't you? So let's see. Oh, has that done it? It has done it, and it's actually reset the calendar bit there. So what if I go down and try and do the time as well? Yeah, I think I've still got the opportunity to do that. So let's do 14:37. That's what the time is. And then if we just go back to the time, there we go. That's more like it. So you've got your main one at the top, London, and then you've got New York down here. But I'll show you how you can look at all the other world times in a second. Let's go to the main menu and check out these icons. Look at that. So we can cycle through these different options here. Or you can press the shortcut key to get to the particular function. So you can see you've got 3 telephone categories, as I was describing earlier. And then you've got, that's the scheduler, I think, the calendar, world clock, memos, and a bunch of other stuff. Let's have a look at each one of these in turn. We're going to go into the first telephone category, which we called Spy Team. Let's see if that comes up when I go into it. Yes, it does. Spy Team. Brilliant. Let's start adding our first spy. Who's the most famous spy? James Bond, although I'm sure someone in the comments will probably tell me that James Bond is actually a field agent or something and not actually a spy. But hey, let's see if that happens. So let's put old Jimmy Bond in. We'll put his telephone number in, beepity bop. And then we can, and so I can press enter to go into a different category, or I can just use the cursor, which is very handy. Fax, send a fax to James Bond. Mobile number, yeah, sure, he's got a mobile number. Company, oh, he works for MI5, doesn't he? That's his company. You can put in the company address, and then what we've got here, because it's late 90s, early 2000s, we've got the opportunity to put in the email address as well. So let's say he's James at Bond, but where do we get the at symbol from? So over here, we've got a symbol button. And if I press that, it brings up a little sub menu, and you've got all of these different icons or characters that have the shortcut numbers next to them. So I could put in an exclamation mark if I press the number 1, for instance, and I can page up and down through this list until we get to the @ sign. Now, given we're in the email field, it's generally an organiser of the early 2000s, you'd think that being able to putting the @ sign would be fairly high on the list of priorities in the symbols, because you can't do it anywhere else. There's no sort of shift and press the button and it just goes straight in. I can't find that. If I press down though, if I start paging down, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. The seventh page. If I press 0, and it rewrites the entire screen, it's now put in the @ sign. So then we can say bond, and then we'll put in a dot, which is shift and comma. There we are, james@bond.com. Okay, and then there's a note. We could put a note in, and then if I just hit enter, and we've got 1 record in here now, it says, and it's showing us how much memory we've got left. And if I press down, then it just brings up the entry straight away, James Bond MI5. And if I had loads in this list, it would show me all of these as well. And if I press edit down here, I can actually go into it and edit all the details that are in there. There may be a way of just viewing it without being in edit mode as well, but I haven't been able to find that. Then I press escape to come back out. And again, and you can see we're looking telephone directory number 1. And then I can go out and I could add different categories. So, I presume if you did have a spy network, you'd probably want to use the password on here at the very least. Anyway, right, what's under number 4? That, I think, is a scheduler. Yes, indeed it is. We've got our nice calendar here over on the right side. And is there any days flashing on here? No, I don't think so. But we've got 25th of the 3rd, 2023. So if I hit enter, then I can add an appointment. So let's add something for 3 o'clock. And I say notice it doesn't have AM, PM. If this is in the 12-hour mode, you see AM and PM next to it. And there's a specific button. If I press Shift and A, it would switch between AM and PM. So all the more reason to switch to the 24-hour clock. So that's 15:00 as a start time for our appointment. Let's finish it at 16:00. And we can have an alarm, and we can say whether it's silent alarm. So I think it just pops up something on the screen. And then we've got a note. And if I press down one more time, I think we might get... Well, let's just type something in to say what it actually is. It's dinner. Oh yeah, here we go. This is great. It also gives you an icon to represent the activity that you're doing, and these are all over this thing. Look, we got a cheeky little dog here. In fact, most of them are sports related. Okay, and then we've got some computery ones, music, TV. There's a playing card there for maybe for Casino Royale if you are James Bond. I am James Bond. Right, so let's see if I pick... I said it was dinner. Let's pick the knife and fork over there. And then that entry is in, and if I press down on the scheduler, I can see that dinner is served at 3. That's very early for dinner, isn't it? And if I press edit, it will bring it up. I can't see the icon though, but it has been stored somewhere. There must be some way of seeing it. Anyway, that's your scheduler. Let's move on to number 5. Now look at that for a calendar. We have shown off some beautiful, beautiful calendar applications on here before. But this one is with the big display like this, maybe the best implementation of a calendar that I have ever seen. So we've got the main calendar month that we're on here, then it shows you the next month, and we've got the day that's flashing away. And if I move around with the cursor, then the other day flashes, fine. And then you can see the little dot is next to the 25 because that's where we added the appointment. And I presume we could go in there and actually look at it. Not quite sure how you do it from here, but I've just pressed edit as a guess, and it's actually brought up a calendar search. So I presume I could cycle back through, and let's go back to the start of the millennium, and it just cycles the calendar through to that. So I guess you can probably, you must be able to edit it from here, but I haven't quite figured out how to add like a scheduled item from there. Right, time to look at the time. So that's the one that we've seen before. That's your regular one. You've got your nice analog clock. It tells you it's a Saturday. Oh, it's always good when it's a Saturday, isn't it? And then if we come out of that and then move across to the world one. This has got a nice little image on it. So this shows us New York is 5 hours behind us. It's 9:43 in the morning. And then if I cycle left and right, you got this little bar here that's indicating the time zone channel. I guess that's what it's called, a channel. And look how the world is actually moving as I select different countries and cities and things around the world. There, I've pressed it too many times and now it's trying to keep up. There's Reykjavik there, Algiers, Spain, Yugoslavia. Oh, it stopped on Yugoslavia, so they're an hour ahead. But it's great, isn't it? That little map. I just think that's so cool. Okay, what else have we got? Q, W, and E. So those are 3 different categories of memos. Right. Well, let's make a memo. Let's start with Kill Blofeld. Is that his name? I think so. Oh, and cat, because he's got a cat. I remember that sits on his lap. And then that's in our memo list. Let's add just one more. What else? Go to space. That's something he does in Moonraker, isn't it? James Bond, I mean. Just in case you missed that first part of the explanation. I'm not quite sure why he would have added his own details into the telephone directory, but he is a bit of a big head, isn't he? So maybe that's why. And then if I press down, you can see when I added these as a memo, Kill Blofeld, and that's just showing you the entry, and then Go to Space as a second one. So if I just go there and hit edit, I can then go in and actually change the text that's there. In fact, let's add a little exclamation mark because it's so exciting to go to space, isn't it? Now note here that is left me when I've pressed the symbol button on the little shortcut menu, which has the @ sign. So this is like the 7th page, but I know the exclamation mark was on the 1st page. And there we go. Go to space. There we go. It's like it has to send a truck off to get that special character and then bring it back. But it's done it there, so that's good. And if I edit that one, and then I press the carriage return button, it's the equivalent of moving down a line. So I've done it at the beginning of that line, and that's why the whole thing's moved down. If I went to the very end of the line, and then did the same thing, I then go on to the next line, hi, and then that is how you make multi-line documents. Okay, back to the menu. So we could have had 3 different categories of those. What's this one here? What does it look like to you? Does it look like a shoe? It looks like a car or a piano from above being played by 2 people. It's a car, okay. Auto maintenance. So this is kind of like a scheduler and a to-do list. Say, for instance, tomorrow, maybe I need to take the car to an MOT. If I hit enter, I go down to the description. I've set the date already, and let's put that in. M to the O to the T. The old Ministry of Transport. Nice one, Britain, backing Britain. So there you go. So you can add that, and then if I press down on the search, it'll show me the different things that I've got for the different days. 26th of March, got to get the car in for an MOT. So that's a specific thing. Maybe it's James Bond's Aston Martin that needs to be checked. I mean, it's quite an old car, so presumably it's probably quite expensive to keep it maintained and roadworthy. Right, to-do lists. What a to-do. Now, we can do different jobs. Let's go and see Q. That's one of the guys, isn't it? In the MI5 world, and I can set a different priority. So 2, okay. And then let's add another one. Let's say meet nice lady. That's something James Bond gets up to quite regularly. That's priority 1 though. And then if I press down, I can see the items for the day and what priority they've got. So if I add some more in, it would bump these around so that they always show in priority order. What's next? What do you think that symbol is? I mean, it looks like a bathtub. It could be. It's not a bathtub though, unless you are shopping for a bathtub. This is for shopping list items. So hey, well, let's go and buy a bath. That seems normal. We can put a priority on it, and we can add a note to have even more entries on there. And it's added that to the list, and then we'll add something else. What else does he like? Oh, he has like exploding pens, doesn't he? That's his life. That's also a priority 1 item. And then if I press down, I'll see all of the shopping list items here. And it's possible you can pick them and mark them as complete or tick them off. I haven't quite figured that out either, but you get the general idea with that. Okay, right, what's next? These are all mostly calendar and to-do functions in one guise or another. This is another one. This one's anniversary. And so this is something that you set every year. I mean, you know what an anniversary is. You're not stupid. So let's say the 14th of April. 14th of April there. Buy flowers. If your birthday's on the 14th of April, good for you. And then we get to pick the icon as well. So do we have one with flowers on it? No, but maybe it's someone's birthday. So let's pick the birthday cake. And there it is. Oh, that's not, that wasn't the entry that I put in, was it? If I press down. See, I'm not sure how the icon appears, but it says buy flowers there. Something else I've noticed on here, and this will be the first time I'm trying this, we've got a zoom button, which may well show the image in sort of less lines or more lines. Well, let's try it out, shall we? So I think we probably press shift. That didn't seem to do anything. Let's see. It seems to change the view a little bit. I wonder if that changes the view on some other things. 14/4, I suppose it's got the date on there. So if I, for instance, went to the calendar and then press zoom, does anything happen? No, it does not. So maybe it only works in certain functions of which I've not been able to figure out just yet. Here I am just trying it in... Ah, yeah, there we go. It's kind of how you view things in read-only that we were struggling to do earlier. So there we go. You could actually zoom in to something as well. Okay, so we've done everything in those first top 2 rows. You'll notice that none of these icons look like games. And that's because there aren't any games on here from what I can find. But that's probably because James Bond, he doesn't have time to play any games. Fair enough, he's too busy. Right, what do A, S and D look like to you? Expenses, that's right. If I press 1, daily expense. Let's add something, a meal perhaps. And the amount was £2.99 because James Bond knows a meal deal. He pays by cheque and he doesn't have a receipt. You must remember to keep your receipts. That is very important. So let's just say he bought wine. Wine for £2.99? That can't be very good. Shall we add one more? Okay, what about the hotel? Yeah, I mean, he stayed in a hotel. That was a lot more expensive. That was £499. How did he pay for that? Oh, well, he put it on his credit card. The organisation credit card. And then that was a hotel, which was nice. There we go. So now we've got those 2. And then if I hit the expenses button again and kind of go back to the previous menu, expense report. Let's try that. Number 2. And it's asking me what period I want to run it from. So I could do start and end dates. And then it shows me all the things that were on there, not lined up. That's a bit annoying, isn't it? But at least it's totaled all the figures for me there, which would save a lot of mucking about. And then, of course, you've got to take that information and put it into your company's expenses system. Or maybe if you use the PC port, you can transfer the information directly over and be reimbursed appropriately, as long as you had kept those receipts. And then just a few other little functions on here. We've got our conversion. And so I can pick which one of these I want to do a conversion on. Let's do centimetres and inches. Hey, how many centimetres equivalent are 50 inches? That's not the right way to say that, is it? Well, it's 127. And then if I can then just put the number in the other way. If I put in 30 centimetres, how many centimetres is the equivalent in inches? How many inches in 30 centimetres? There we go. That's how I should have said it. I press left and it says 11.81. And you can sort of see, because this is a ruler. You know what a ruler is. It goes from 1 to 12 inches. And if I turn it over, you've got 1 to 30, but they're just not quite aligned. So you probably can't see that, but Hey, you know the difference between centimetres and inches. It's got loads of other ones on here as well, but it's also got a currency conversion. That was the next thing in the icon. I've just pressed the button and it's gone straight to it. So you'd put in a figure and you'd put in a rate and it will give you the correct transposition, the financial transposition. Okay, let's see. There's only a couple of other things left on here, I think. Yes, we've got the calculator. And I do like a big display on my calculator. Beep, bop, beep, bop, beep. +1. And then if I just hit equals, I like a calculator that can increment. Who doesn't like that? If I press zoom, will it make it bigger or smaller? That zoom button really only seems to work in certain things, not in everything. And then let's see, the last thing, we've got an alarm. Would you like to hear the alarm? Yes. Yes, you would. So I'm going to put the beeping sounds back on generally. Okay. And then if I go into this one and edit it, and it's 1455. So let's put in 1456. I think you can get it to only trigger on certain days or every month or whatever. Yes, please. I'd like to have an alarm. And I'd also like it to come up with a particular message. Happy birthday, James Bond. Oh, actually, it can't be very long. It's just happy BS. That'll do. Okay, so that one is set, I think. And while we're just waiting for the 30 seconds to go past of that little timer for the calendar, let's just go back and have a look and see what amount of memory we've used. If we go to Shift and Function, it takes us back to the function menu. And then if I press 1, look, you can see you've got some of the records in there now. So telephone number category 1 has got 1 record in it. The scheduler and anniversary each have 1 as well. And oh, that seems to be, oh, hey, it's going. It's beeping away. It's beeping, but I can't see my message. My message isn't being presented to me. And I can't seem to turn it off. There we go. You have to do Shift and the sound one. Hey, maybe that would wake you up in the morning. But what if that went off while you were hiding behind a bush before you infiltrated someone? You'd have to be discreet about how you use it. So there we go. Nice one, Packard Bell, DB1280IR Organiser. I think that's a pretty nice example. The keyboard is nice and big. It's quite nice to type on. The screen takes a little while to update as you're typing. There's a bit of lag, you could say. But I think it doesn't hinder the performance. This is certainly a really good example of a digital organiser from the turn of the century. Certainly better than some other ones, I think, that were around at the time. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you owned one of these, or you know anything about it, or maybe you can find any information about it, or you got a manual or whatever, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, I'll see you again soon.